Yazid. I am doing a science presentation for my science class. I am Van A1, the highest van in my whole school. I am a P5 student, and I would like to start my presentation with a quote from Martin H. Fisher. The quote is, "Don't forget, the flavor of wine and cheese depends on the type of infecting microorganisms." Now, to introduce you on microorganisms, microorganisms are a small one-cell creature that is so small you need a microscope to see it. Even if I'm wearing glasses, I can't see them. So anyway, there are 4 types of microorganisms: bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and virus. Scientists use a special instrument to see the microorganisms, such as microscopes. There are 2 types of microscopes. 2 types, just 2, not 3, not 4, just 2. One is called the light microscope, and one is called the electrical microscope. Anyway, now to introduce you to some important microbes. Now, I want to explain about the 4 microorganisms. The first one on my list is bacteria. Bacteria has small prokaryotic cells, typically from 0.2 to 1 micrometer in length. Wow, isn't that interesting? I don't know how small it is. So small, I guess. They are found almost everywhere: in air, water, soil. Actually, I might be even killing some right now. Okay, and sometimes they reproduce by doubling with a generation time of 20 minutes. Some bacteria are capable of locomotion. Okay, now to tell you, the roles of bacteria are, they are great for the environment. They help us get rid of the nitrogen fixation. Bacteria also help us make food such as cheese and vinegar and wine. I don't really drink wine, but I know it's plain wine. Sometimes they even clean up the environment. I don't know how, but they do. And also, they help us make vitamin synthesis. The environment could not exist without bacteria. They help recycle dead animals and plants. If bacteria wasn't around back then, there would be a bunch of dead animals all around us. And to show you the types of bacteria, here is one type of bacteria. I have also another one, but it's not really a killer one. But anyway, since you've seen the examples of bacteria, let's move on to the second one. To go from nitrogen fixation, you are probably wondering, what is nitrogen fixation? Okay, nitrogen gas makes up 78% of the air. But most plants cannot use nitrogen directly from the air. Nitrogen-fixing bacteria takes in nitrogen from the air and changes it to a form of plants can use. A plant that can use. Isn't it interesting? I mean, if plants needed bacteria, that would be actually relying on somebody else. So actually, plants don't really make their own food. They have help. Some bacteria are also in your food, like bread. People sometimes raise bacteria for the food. Sometimes they're using cheese, yogurt, buttermilk, and sour cream. Sour cream, you know the Pringles chips, you know the sour cream. Anyway, they also are lactic acid and help preserve the food for a long period of time. They also help clean up the environment. Bacteria and Other microorganisms are also used to fight pollution. Now, isn't that interesting? Oh no, here we are trying to fix the environment. But then, actually, bacteria and microorganisms are also helping. They're also used to clean up the spill from oceans and other places that can infect other animals. Leaves and twigs are recycled over time with the help of bacteria. Now, isn't that interesting? Sometimes, vitamin syntheses such as the Ixalic coli help for commercial preparations of riboflavin and vitamin B. Okay, now on to our next one. Next microorganisms is on our list is fungi. Fungi is a kingdom of multicellular heterotropics kingdom. They are an organism that grows with a thick cell walls. Sometimes they also may be seen by microorganisms. They also can they also have a special mood called absorptive mood for nutrition. It can absorb nutrition. The examples of fungi are actually yeast and mushrooms. And why not? I show you some of them right now. Sometimes microorganisms can grow on people's feet. Isn't that gross? And these are the types of mushrooms that grow. And you know what? It just feels so sad. I mean, I eat mushrooms and they're delicious, but not these mushrooms. They're horrible. Anyway, back to the microfungi. And to say something, the roles of fungi are they can be used for recycling, food, and medicine. Sometimes they can be used. They also can help plant growth. Now, isn't that interesting? It's like instead of fertilizer, buy your fertilizer. You can just take some fungi because it's a fun guy, helps flatten things up, and just throw it at the plant. Now, isn't that like really logical? So the first thing I'm gonna say about recycling is fungi is actually responsible for most of the recycling, which returns dead material into the soil. Without fungi, recycling activities would be seriously reduced. Everything will not be decomposed. Isn't that just gross? Fungi are vitally important for the good growth of most plants, including crops, through the development of mycorrhizal association. It plays important role for the food chain. I heard that some fungi that are very dangerous, and sometimes they may be actually the largest microorganisms in the entire world. But sadly, we have not reached that category because I'm P5. Moving on, sometimes fungi can be used for food. Important. Sometimes mushrooms are directly as a food for humans. Many mushrooms are edible, and different species are cultivated for sales worldwide. You can sell mushrooms for, I don't know, like food and stuff. They're so delicious. But the downsides to mushrooms: some mushrooms are very deadly, and if they are eaten, you might be having food poisoning, or even worse, death. And you may remember this. Da da da. Anyway, moving on. Fungi can also be used for medicine. Most famous of all antibiotic drugs is derived from a common fungus called penicillium. Penicillium. Sounds like a food I heard before. Moving on, some fungi with parasitic caterpillars have also been traditionally used as medicine. The sources of powerful and important drugs which have uses in childbirth. In my words, you can actually use the fungi, such as this, to make and to help give a mother childbirth. Isn't that interesting? Okay, moving on to the next one. Protozoa. Actually, to my superior standard right now, protozoa are the largest microorganism in the whole set of microorganisms. There are actually single-cell animals that feed primarily on bacteria. You see, they're not like the normal, hey, I'm the fun guy. They're the ones who eat their own kind and they eat bacteria, the cousins of it. They are actually several times larger than bacteria, ranging from 1/5,000 to 1/50 of an inch, 5 to 500 micrometers in a diameter. That is actually very big compared to the normal bacteria in the whole world. That's why it's considered the biggest microorganism. There are 3 types of protozoa, classified into 3 groups based on their shape that are Phlegethys, Silatios, Sarcodina, and amoeba. Amoeba sounds like a jelly. Anyway, the roles of protozoa are they play a very important role in mineralizing nutrients. They release the excess of N in the form of ammonium, NH4+. They also help maintain an ecological balance in the soil. Protozoa can also an important food source for other soil organisms. So without protozoa, the soil might be gone by now. They also help to suppress disease by competing with or feeding on pathogens. That means the protozoas they actually help compel diseases by eating up the bacteria and virus. So protozoas are actually known as a police in our ecosystem. Before we move on, I would like to show you some pictures of protozoas. Here is one. This one has a special feature. It can duplicate itself to eat multiple bacteria and then compel back. Here's another design of it. It's called amoeba. The amoeba has a lot of stomachs and is very keen to eat. Moving on, we are moving on to the most deadliest microorganism known to all of us. I have saved the best for the last. It's called the virus. Dun dun dun. Anyway, back. Viruses are actually biological agents that reproduce inside the cells of a living host. To explain it in detail, there's actually only one virus. One virus. Many types of virus, but one. Many varieties, but only one virus. That virus will go into a host body and multiply. So if I have asthma, it's actually started out from a tiny virus in our body. It'll multiply, and multiply. DNA protein code and the white blood cells cannot do anything about it. A virus consists of 2 or 3 parts. One of them is called genes, made from either DNA or RNA. A long nucleus that carry the gentle information of a protein code that protects the genes. The protein code is actually the ones that protect the virus. Sometimes, some viruses, an envelope of fat that surrounds them and protects them while they are contained in a host cell. So, if a virus enters a host cell, such as us, a primary target to viruses, they will make fat around them, which will protect them from our white blood cells that come to attack it. Sometimes they are so deadly that they will attack our white blood cells and may even get sick. Viruses are about 100 times smaller than bacteria, so they are considered the most smallest microorganism in the whole world. A virus spread in many different ways and can cause very deadly and sometimes light diseases. Viruses also use host bodies to sometimes transfer to us. Like for instance, have you ever heard of the mosquito dengue fly? Yes, actually the dengue fly contains millions and millions of viruses inside their coating, and when they come to us and inject us to get our nutrients, it gives time for the viruses to enter our body. Thus, we having this special disease called dengue or malaria. Also, viruses are bringing hope to those with previously incurable genetic disease. So sometimes viruses help in cure people. Like if a supervirus attacks another supervirus, both superviruses will attack them till there's no more. They are also essentially to a regulation of saltwater and freshwater ecosystems. That means they are very keen to be in the saltwater and freshwater ecosystem. So if you ever go to a saltwater or a freshwater one, make sure there's no cuts so the virus cannot enter. Actually, there's actually a 50% chance that you may not get infected and may be infected. Though the most horrible thing about viruses is they infect and destroy the bacteria in the microbial community. So they are like the hotshot bad guys in the microorganism world. It actually increases the genetic diversity and drives evolution. The ability of viruses to cause devastation, also known as the epidemics in human society, has led the concern that viruses could be weaponized for biological nuclear warfare. There are many types of weapons using viruses, such as poison gas and nuclear warheads. Before I conclude this magnificent project of mine, I would like to show you some pictures of viruses. Now here is one. Viruses look like somewhat like this. They are very, very dangerous, and they look like something called like a spiked fish. Thanks to my filmmaker, my mother, and I couldn't have done this without her. Thank you for your consideration, and I hope I'll get 30 over 30 for my exams. It started. Let me delete that one. On to the next one. Protozoa. Protozoa. There's in a diameter. Normal bacteria in the whole world. That's why it's considered the biggest microorganism. Protozoa. And amoeba. Amoeba. Sounds like a jelly. Anyway, instead of just raking it up, why not we buy leaf in a bottle? You throw the microorganism there, the leaf goes away. Okay, now on to our next one. Next microorganisms is on our list is fungi. You see, because I'm a fun and I'm a guy, so I call myself fun guy.